Hey there, Knicks fans! Welcome back to the channel. Today we've got some major news to discuss, so let's dive right in and break it all down. First and foremost, I've got to deliver some tough news. Isaiah Hartenstein is leaving the Knicks. He's agreed to a 3-year, $87 million contract with the Oklahoma City Thunder. Now, I know this is a hard pill to swallow for many of us, but I want to explain why this happened and what it means for our team going forward. Let's start with why the Knicks couldn't keep Hartenstein. It all comes down to a quirk in the NBA's collective bargaining agreement. Because of how Hartenstein's previous contract was structured, the Knicks were severely limited in how much they could offer him. The maximum they could put on the table was $72.5 million over 4 years, with only $64 million of that guaranteed. Now, to their credit, the Knicks did make their best offer to Hartenstein as soon as they were allowed to negotiate. But Hartenstein and his team made the smart decision to test the free agent market, believing they could get better offers elsewhere. And as we now know, they were absolutely right. It's worth noting that Hartenstein's camp did give the Knicks a heads up that they should expect other offers to top New York's. Throughout this process, Hartenstein maintained that, all things being equal, he wanted to return to the Knicks. But in the end, the difference in money was just too significant to ignore. So, what does this mean for the Knicks moving forward? Well, unless they make a significant trade, it looks like Mitchell Robinson will be our starting center next season. Now, Robinson is a talented player, particularly on the defensive end. He's a shot-blocking machine and one of the best offensive rebounders in the league when he's on the court. However, we do need to address the elephant in the room, Robinson's health. He's only played more than 66 games once in his 6 pro seasons. Last year, he was having his best season before an ankle injury in December sidelined him for 4 months. He even had to undergo a second surgery on the same ankle in the spring. So while Robinson is certainly capable of being our starting center, his durability is a concern. Now let's talk about some potential options to fill the backup center role. The free agent market doesn't have anyone quite at Hartenstein's level, but there are some solid players available. Guys like Mo Wagner, Daniel Theis, and Thomas Bryant could be potential targets. There's also a chance the Knicks could bring back Precious Achiuwa. He filled in admirably as a backup center and power forward last season. The Knicks didn't extend a qualifying offer to Achiuwa, making him an unrestricted free agent, but that was purely for cap flexibility reasons. They're still open to bringing him back. The team also still has Jericho Sims under contract, so he could see an increased role next season. And let's not forget, the Knicks have some financial tools at their disposal. They have the $5 million taxpayer mid-level exception, which they could use to sign a free agent. They also have trade exceptions worth $6.8 million and $5.2 million, allowing them to absorb players making up to those amounts in trades without sending out matching salary. One thing to keep in mind is Tom Thibodeau's coaching philosophy. Tibbs builds his defenses around rim protection, so it's hard to imagine the Knicks not prioritizing that, even with all the perimeter defenders they've added recently like OG Anunoby, Mikal Bridges, Josh Hart, and Dante DiVincenzo. Speaking of Bridges, we should touch on how his acquisition affects the team's financial situation. The trade for Bridges, which isn't finalized yet, will hard cap the Knicks this season. Depending on how the trade is structured, they'll be capped at either $178.1 million, the first apron, or $188.9 million, the second apron, in total payroll. This limits their flexibility in making additional moves, so they'll need to be strategic with any further roster decisions. Now let's talk a bit about what Hartenstein's departure means for the Knicks on the court. There's no denying that this is a significant loss. Hartenstein had become Jalen Brunson's favorite pick-and-roll partner, thanks to his on-point passing and that feathery floater of his. His presence allowed the Knicks to run a more diverse offense, as opponents couldn't send 2 defenders at Brunson without risking Hartenstein making them pay. Defensively, Hartenstein was a beast. The advanced stats loved him. He finished second in the league in defensive estimated plus-minus. Opponents shot just 52.5% on dunks and layups when he was the closest defender, which was the sixth best mark in the NBA among players who contested at least 3 such shots per game. As for Hartenstein, he's heading to a great situation in Oklahoma City. The Thunder needed help protecting the rim and on the glass, and Hartenstein should fit perfectly with their fast-paced, decision-making-oriented style of play. He could form a formidable defensive duo with Chet Holmgren, who was one of the league's most intimidating shot blockers as a rookie last season. It's worth noting that this is a big move for the Thunder. Before Hartenstein, the most money they had ever given to another team's unrestricted free agent was just $16 million over 3 years to Patrick Patterson back in 2017. This $87 million deal for Hartenstein shows that the Thunder believe they're ready to compete now, and they see him as a key piece of their championship puzzle. So, where does all this leave the Knicks? Well, there's no sugarcoating it. Losing Hartenstein is a blow. He was a key part of our success last season, and his unique skill set will be hard to replace. However, this is the NBA, and roster turnover is a fact of life. The challenge now is for the front office to find ways to fill this hole and for Coach Thibodeau to adjust his strategies to the personnel he has available. The silver lining here is that the Knicks still have a strong core. With Jalen Brunson, Julius Randle, and the recent additions of OG Anunoby and Mikal Bridges, this is still a team that can compete at a high level in the Eastern Conference. The key will be finding the right pieces to complement this core and maintaining the defensive identity that has become a hallmark of Thibodeau-coached teams. As we move forward, there are several questions that need to be answered. How will the Knicks address the backup center position? Will they make any more moves before the season starts? And how will the rotation shake out with all these new pieces? But you know what? This could be a golden opportunity for some creative solutions. So, let's break it all down and explore some intriguing options. First off, I want us to think outside the box a little bit. Instead of getting stuck on traditional positions, what if we start looking at our lineup in terms of skills and matchups? This approach could open up some really interesting possibilities for the Knicks. Let's start with a bold idea. Imagine OG Anunoby playing as a small ball center on defense, with Julius Randle operating as the nominal center on offense. Now I know what you're thinking. Randle at the 5, are you crazy? But hear me out on this one. Cast your mind back to Randle's 1 year with the Pelicans, where he played a significant number of minutes at center. His numbers during that season were pretty impressive. Now imagine what he could do in that role with the spacing we have on our current roster. It's an exciting prospect, right? Picture Randle in a role similar to what we've seen from guys like Draymond Green or Bam Adebayo, a hub for dribble handoffs and short rolls. Sure, Randle might not process the game as quickly as those players, but he's a much bigger threat with the ball in his hands. This could add a new dimension to our offense that opponents might struggle to contain. Now, let's talk about why this approach could be particularly beneficial for the Knicks right now. We've got a bit of a good problem on our hands, a deep roster with a lot of talented players who deserve significant minutes. Just think about it. We know Jalen Brunson and Julius Randle are going to get their 35 minutes a night. OG Anunoby, with the payday he just got, is likely to see similar playing time. And Mikal Bridges? Well, he's averaged 35 minutes a game for the last 3 years, and we didn't give up 5 first-rounders for him to take a back seat. That's already 140 of a possible 192 minutes at positions 1 through 4. It doesn't leave a lot of room for guys like Josh Hart, who seem to play every minute of every playoff game. Donte DiVincenzo, who was averaging 38 minutes after the OG and Randle's injuries, and Deuce McBride, who put up 31 minutes per game post-All-Star break. These are all players who can and should be playing around 30 minutes a night. By using Randle and Anunoby at the 4 and 5 for certain stretches, we can create more opportunities for our deep roster. Imagine a lineup of Randle, OG, Bridges, DiVincenzo, and McBride. That's 4 legitimate deep threats surrounding Julius. It could be a nightmare for opposing defenses to guard. Now, I'm not suggesting we do this for the entire game. Maybe it's an option for 5 minutes each half. But even that could make a significant difference in our rotations and give us a potent offensive lineup to deploy when Brunson is on the bench. Of course, we'd still need to sign or acquire a traditional center. Mitchell Robinson is great when he's healthy, but his durability has been a concern. However, this small ball approach could take some pressure off finding an elite big man. It might allow us to focus on finding a solid, serviceable center rather than breaking the bank for a star. Speaking of potential solutions, let's talk about Precious Achiuwa for a moment. The numbers with Achiuwa are really intriguing. Did you know that the lineup of OG, Brunson, and Precious had a net rating of 34 in 120 minutes last season? That's an insanely good number. It definitely suggests that there's potential there worth exploring further. Another option could be to bring in someone like Day'Ron Sharpe as part of the Mikal Bridges deal. Sharpe could give us another big body who's solid on both offensive and defensive rebounding, as well as rim protection. It wouldn't be a flashy move, but it could provide valuable depth. Now, let's address the elephant in the room. As a team with championship aspirations, you ideally don't want to be in the figure-it-out phase of team building. But the reality is, on some level, it has to happen. Even the Celtics, the reigning champions, had to adjust when they traded for Drew Holiday last season. It's part of the process of building a contender. I wouldn't be mad at all if the Knicks just brought back Precious Achiuwa and let Leon Rose and his front office work their magic in optimizing the roster. These guys have proven they know what they're doing. They'll run the numbers on everything, weigh all options, and make the best decision for the team. One thing to keep in mind is that even if the Randle-Robinson pairing isn't ideal, and several years of data suggest it isn't, a healthy Mitch playing at a similar level to where he was early last season wouldn't be a significant drop-off from Hartenstein, all things considered. Let's also not forget about the impact OG Anunoby has had on our lineups. He's juiced up pretty much every combination he's been a part of. Interestingly, Mitchell Robinson has 0 minutes with both Randle and OG on the floor. That's a combination we might see more of next season, and it could be more effective than we expect. Here's another interesting stat for you. Mitch and Randle played 573 minutes without Precious or Hartenstein last year, and they won those minutes. So while it might not be the ideal pairing, it's not like it's a complete disaster either. The bottom line is, the Knicks have options. Whether it's playing small ball with Randle at the 5, bringing back Achiuwa, making another move for a center, or some combination of these approaches, I trust Leon Rose and the front office to optimize this roster. Remember, necessity is the mother of invention. This challenge could lead to some creative solutions that make our team even better. Who knows? We might stumble upon a lineup or strategy that takes the league by storm. So, what do you think, Knicks fans? Are you excited about these possibilities? Would you like to see Randle get some minutes at center? How about bringing back Achiuwa? Or should we be aggressive in pursuing another big man? Let me know your thoughts in the comments below. I always love hearing your perspectives and ideas. You guys often come up with things I haven't even considered, so don't be shy. Before we wrap up, I want to remind everyone that while losing Hartenstein is tough, we still have a lot to be excited about. This team won 50 games last season and was 1 win away from the Eastern Conference Finals in spite of all the injuries they sustained. We've added Mikal Bridges, and now we'll hopefully have a full season of OG Anunoby and Julius Randle. The core of this team is still young and improving. Whether we go small, bring in another center, or find some middle ground, I believe we're going to be a force to be reckoned with next season. If you enjoyed this video and want to stay up to date with all things Knicks, make sure to hit that like button and subscribe to the channel. We'll be covering all the latest news, rumors, and analysis throughout the offseason and beyond. Thanks for watching, everyone. Remember, no matter what happens with our center rotation, we've got a bright future ahead of us. Until next time, go Knicks!